this can apply to anybody that grew up anywhere, you know, because some of my homies, they had both of their parents and stuff, and I still feel like it applied to them, what I'm about to mention. But one of the most profound lies that I believed for a great deal of my youth, teenage years, and really late into my young adult years, like I'll say to like maybe 26, 27, 28, somewhere around here. Late bloomer stuff, for sure. But one of the most profound lies that I believed is that someone, something would save me, right? And that if I wasn't believing that, then something, having something, some type of success or status would also save me. And I realized that later on in life that neither one of them was true. You know, I grew up molded and shaped mostly by feminine energy, while still having a lack of healthy feminine energy and masculine energy in my life, right? And so when you are groomed and shaped like that, you tend to respond to the world the same way. You think the world is supposed to give you something just because. And I remember one of some of the things I used to say, like if I was to, let's say if I was to go to a hotel and act a fool, act crazy, you know what I'm saying? I would blame it on race, why I was, you know, getting in trouble. I didn't blame it on my actions. I didn't blame it on the fact that I was bogus and I was doing things that I was supposed to do. I would manipulate the situation and turn it on to the person, right? Because I'm owed something. Y'all put me in slavery. And I know this just sounds crazy. It sounds twisted. But this is just the teachings that you just kind of subtly pick up, right? Y'all owe me something. Y'all can't punish me. I didn't do anything wrong, right? When it came to poor decisions, you know, I knew my mom, my grandma, you know, I felt like they should bail me out. If I wanted to quit a job just because I felt like quitting the job, or I felt like the job was hard, or I just didn't want to go that day, or because I got drunk, or because of whatever, I felt like, hey, I'm black and I grew up like this. Woe is me. You know, the world should feel sorry for me, right? I felt like I could manipulate and talk my way out of everything when it came to women. And I felt like if one of the worst things that I realized now that I'm older, because it destroyed so many opportunities in my life, was the mindset that, like, if you upset me, or if me and you got a problem, then we should just fight. Win, lose, or draw, we should just fight. I should just put my hands on you, just in any case, anytime. And it wasn't a tough thing. It wasn't a tough thing. It was a feminine thing. It was an emotional thing. It was a I can't control my emotions thing. And so every time I went out to play football, or every time I went out to whatever, I would always get kicked off or get suspended or get expelled, because all of my reactions was emotional. I remember one time this coach set me down and he said, 2 things is going on with you. And my young mind wasn't able to process it. Even though consciously, subconsciously, I knew what he was saying was right, but I still couldn't process it in terms of practically living it out, because I just wasn't receiving enough of that doctrine and that information. And I feel like when you're younger, you know, you have to receive constant feedback from masculinity in order, because you're gonna not even take it seriously when you're getting it back to back. You get what I'm saying? But it's still gonna shape you, and then once you get older, you'll understand it and be able to make it make sense. So he said two things. He said, you can run that ball and strong arm plenty on defense if you want to. You could be one of the best running backs if you want to. But two things: you got fear in your heart and you got anger in your heart. And whenever something don't go your way, you want to fight. And the sad thing about it was, like, unfortunately, like, growing up in the hood and in the inner city, like, if you fought a lot and stuff like that, they, like, pat you on the back. You know what I'm saying? Not really taking into consideration that these behaviors is crash out behavior, right? Like, it's a recipe for becoming a crash out. You know what I'm saying? Not fighting to protect yourself, not because someone is bullying you, because those just weren't things that I wasn't experiencing. I've never experienced no form of bullying from nobody other than, like, maybe like my OGs, like my family members, older cousins, uncles, and stuff like that. But I never was bullied in school by nobody. You know what I'm saying? I never experienced any type of bullying until the internet existed. Like, people get in the comments and, say, "Oh, you lying," and this, and that. Or, like, I never experienced that but like in real time, it wasn't a thing. But anyways, I got a badge. You get a pat on the back. And what I realized, and this is something that a lot of men still can't understand. Like, when I tell stories about cracking chicks or getting into fights, some people still feel like that's like a badge of honor, or it's like something to be proud of. So when you telling a story, they're receiving it as like bragging, when in all actuality, it's nothing to brag about. You know what I'm saying? Because on the back end of all of that, it ruined almost every opportunity that I ever had to be in a functional state of mind, like, and to be able to do something with structure. I couldn't do nothing with structure for most of my life, because anytime there was some type of structure offered to me, some type of structure given to me, right, like, I reacted with emotion and wanted to fight, or wanted to whatever, or wanted to, you know what I'm saying? And so that lends into the thinking somebody was gonna save me. If I quit this job, if I, go and blow $400, or I go and lose all my money in the dice game, I could do it, because I can go back to mommy's house, get me 2 packs of ramen noodles, some pizza rolls, and one of them big dollar juices that my mom have in the refrigerator. Drink that, go in the basement, watch a movie, and go to sleep with no consequences for my behaviors. One of the most foolishest things that I remember doing, was my girlfriend at the time. Her dad was a pastor at the church, so she would have access to, like, all the checks and all this stuff. So sometimes, I'm not even gonna lie, she would get the checks and, spend some and then put the money back. But one time she gave me a check for like $750, to hold just in case I needed it for something. So I went and cashed the check one day and got into a dice game and started shooting in the dice game. I ended up losing the whole check, right? To the point where I had to put my car up. That's how bad I was losing in the dice game. I had to put my car up And I think I put my car for like 900 or something like that. And the guy, it was a little gray Corsica, by the way. Forget the year. But anyways, the guy like was shooting into the car, and he almost got down, but somehow I ended up like getting him back down, and I think I won back like maybe like $175, and then I just quit. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't tripping because he had already won like $500+ from me anyway. So he like, whatever, man. He's like, man, you was about to lose your car, and I was gonna lose my car because I knew that I could have my uncle take me places or have somebody bail me out, right? Because I thought that the world was coming to save me. And what I realized now is that I was making everybody else's life harder due to my responsibilities. Some of these people were enabling me, not necessarily because they knew better, but just because this is just generations of doing this. This is just how we react. And, you know, it is a form of love, according to us. And so, but then you start getting older, and then you start digging yourself in holes that people can't pull you out. You start creating scenarios and situations that can't nobody save you. You know what I'm saying? And then it gets to a point where you start to realize that people are in deep waters within their own life. So you just out here on your own. But if you really pay attention, you would realize that you was always really out there on your own in the first place. Not in a negative way, but like it's your responsibility as a man to optimize all of your situations. And unfortunately, I didn't do that for most of my youth. In fact, like I said before, I destroyed all my situations because I believed a profound lie that someone was going to save me. I believed that I could talk my way out of it. I believed that I could charm my way into females' panties, and I was able to. For the most part, you know, in high school and, you know, up into the adult years. But then after a while, you got to put up or shut up, right? You get what I'm saying? Because the games is over. And then another profound lie we believe, which is one of the most comical ones, because when you're young, you just think you're just gonna be young forever. You just think you think everything's a joke. You think everything's funny. You think everybody, you know, I used to laugh at people when they used to exercise. I thought I was never gonna get old. I thought I had all the answers. I thought I knew everything about life. And the older I get, the more of the realization that I know I don't know anything now. And I know a whole lot now. So if I don't know nothing now, I definitely didn't know shit as a 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 25, 26. I didn't know anything. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have a clue about reality. You know what I'm saying? And I see the effects of those decisions. Last story. So I got a retail fraud on my record when I was 17, because we used to go to the parties, and we used to go to the parties. One of my favorite things back in the day was different color fitted hats and different color earrings. You know what I'm saying? So I would go to like JCPenney's and different stores, you know, and we would steal whatever couple pairs of earrings that we desired, you know what I'm saying, for that party. And we would do this often, you know, every time there was a little hood party, which it was a lot in the summer, you know, they was happening 3-4 times a week. They was having hood parties on weekdays. They was having hood party, dollar parties, right? And so I would go in with me and my homies. Would go into JCPenney's, and you know, we steal these different color earrings. I remember I had these pink ones, these purple ones, and these orange ones. I had 3 pair. and it was like $50 a piece, I think. Had them in my pocket. Had my homeboy with me. this man had like 7, 8 pair of earrings. They was pulling them all, and it was this old lady. She was watching us from the corner, and so we trying to head out the store, and we got caught. And you do not know how many opportunities just that little petty retail fraud stopped me from having certain jobs flat out told me they didn't hire me because the retail fraud, apartments, so much different little stuff, and I wouldn't even thought about how that was going to affect me as a kid, because I just thought everything was a game. I thought life was a joke, right? And so nobody's coming to save you. And your decisions will have a lasting effect on your journey. Trust me. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to have to do a lot of extra work to overcome, redo, manage, become whatever. You're going to have to do a lot, you know what I'm saying, for the get back. You know what I'm saying? Because them decisions, and ain't nobody coming to save you. Don't nobody owe you nothing. Most people ain't on your team for real. A lot of people ain't rooting for you. Most people is out for themselves. They only gonna deal with you a lot of times if they're benefiting from the situation. And you don't learn that until you get older. That's all I got. Peace.